Hi there. Before we get into the show, I just wanted to give listeners a heads up that the audio quality is going to be much less than what you're used to. There were some technical difficulties with the recording that I just wasn't aware of till we were almost finished recording already. So it was salvageable. It is listenable, but the quality is going to be a lot less than what you're used to. But I figured out the problem. We got it fixed now, and the quality will be back to normal next time. Otherwise, we have a good show. I hope you enjoy. Welcome to Scrollin', a podcast about the Elder Scrolls Online. I'm Ket.
I'm Davius.
This is episode number 21. And just to start right off with some announcements, this is episode number 21. So just like you said last week, Davius, the show can legally drink in the United States now.
We're all going to hang out in East March, and we're just going to drink with the Nords.
We're going to have some
all week
mead.
Long. That's the goal.
Yeah. So happy 21st to the show. So next announcement, listeners may have already noticed the audio on Davius's end sounds a little different from usual, and that's because Davius is on vacation this week. He's out of town, up high in the mountains, finding himself.
Yeah. Exploring, looking deeper into my Nord self, really figuring it out.
Yeah. The audio is going to sound a little different, but it'll be back to normal before long. Also though, on that note, another announcement is, Davius will actually not be here next episode, right?
I will be out for one episode. I think it will just be fine. Technically, it's not my first, I was out for the first 14 episodes or so, right?
Right. It's probably just going to be me next week. I don't have a guest or anything lined up. But I mean, who knows? Maybe I could wrangle something up between now and then. But I think most likely next episode is just going to be me. But I think that's cool. I have plenty of stuff to talk about. I think I have a build that I'm going to want to talk about. So I think we'll have plenty of stuff. It'll be cool.
Very good.
The gold vendor this week is the same as last week, except instead of neck pieces, now it's gold rings. So it's all the Cyrodiil PvP vendor sets. So this is sets like Curse Eater, Deadly Strikes, Elfbane, Fury, Buffer of the Swift, Transmutation. There's a whole bunch more. A bunch of these are really good sets. I use Deadly Strikes and Elfbane myself, but a lot of these get used even in PvE. I know Deadly Strikes is very popular even in PvE. Very, very good sets. And what's really nice about these is that they're all bind on equip, so you can totally sell them to other players. And these are gold rings, so I mean they're going to fetch a nice price. And there's a lot of people who they don't want to go to Cyrodiil. They don't want to do PvP to get alliance points to get these things. So people will absolutely spend gold at the Guild Trader to get a hold of, say, Deadly Strikes or Elfbane to use those in PvE content. Good opportunity to make some gold.
That's a nice setup. That Elfbane is something that I might actually go in on that, because that's been a pretty cool set of late.
Oh yeah, it's
really
good. It's really popular for Dragon Knight, but honestly, I think it can work well on a lot of different builds. People tend to only use it on Dragon Knights, but it can work well on a lot of different builds. Really, anything with a fire staff on the front bar, I think, can make good use out of it.
Yeah, well, or just Grothdar, monster set with that. You've got a great start to a build.
Yeah, even just this set and Grothdar on any class. Yeah, honestly, is going to be very good. And it's heavy armor, so it's like if you want to be like a tanky kind of Magicka sort of build, it's a great set for that. So that's the gold vendor. So let's talk about some news and patch notes. A small thing, there's just a developer comment on the forums. They're saying that they're extending Mid-Year Mayhem by 1 day because they have some maintenance planned on the last day of Mid-Year Mayhem, which is the 7th. So they said they didn't want this maintenance to coincide with the conclusion of the event, so they're extending it to July 8th. So we have one more day to get in on that. And then there was a maintenance patch this week, mostly minor stuff, but a few things that I think are worth mentioning. They've made some minor sort of like balance adjustments to the Kind's Aegis trial, a bunch of bug fixes for antiquities, a lot of quest-related bugs in Greymore. This one I thought was kind of hilarious. The Malakath Band of Brutality. They fixed an issue where this was increasing the damage of siege weapons.
That one is hilarious to me. I I wonder, we've been hanging out in Cyrodiil. I wonder if this ever hit us at all because there's been a couple times where we got hit by some siege and it was like, "Whoa, what just happened?"
There really was a couple of times. Like I'm used to taking some siege. I kind of know what to expect. I usually have my hots up and I'm ready for it. But there were a couple of times I got hit with some siege. I was like, "Whoa, dude, that hurt. That hurt." So
Uh,
yeah, I wonder. That is hilarious. 25% increased damage to siege weapons. It's
oh
too
man.
funny. I
Just
didn't know
people
that
sitting
was
up on
happening, but man,
yeah, just people sitting up on top of a tower just just raking in the kills.
so funny. And also just taking keeps 25% faster.
Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't
uh,
even think about that. Just taking down the doors and walls. Oh my gosh.
yeah. This is another thing. I saw. I never witnessed this happening myself, but I saw some forum discussions about it. They fixed an issue where you could revive in place using unintended methods. And people were complaining that they saw players doing this in Cyrodiil, and I don't know exactly how they were doing it, but my understanding is they were exploiting some sort of bug in the group finder. Which imagine that a bug in the group finder. But players are somehow exploiting a bug, and like they would get killed in Cyrodiil, by a player, and they would res themselves right there by doing this thing somehow. So they apparently have fixed that. It's no longer possible. That's good. Otherwise, some art and animation fixes, miscellaneous other stuff related to Stadia, the Crown Store, the crates. They fixed some audio bugs, little stuff like that. I think the Malakath siege thing is the juiciest thing in there. Um, all right, so that's kind of it for news. So let's talk about what we've been doing this week in the Elder Scrolls Online. Davis, why don't you kick us off, man? What's been going on?
So I've actually kind of spent, obviously I had a little bit of a shortened week, but I've spent most of my time just trying to kind of finish out the builds that I've been talking about in the past couple episodes, which is mainly my stamplar, and my stam warden. My stam warden, I actually was talking to you about this a little bit earlier in the week. I'm going to go a little outside the box with him. He's the one that he's a heavy bow build. He just runs automatons and innate axiom, so it's just all physical damage and class abilities for damage. But I had originally thrown the Malakath band on him. I didn't really like the fit for it, and so I've taken it off and gone back to monster sets.
Yep.
But I haven't really found a monster set that I really have liked a whole lot for him. And so I've been kind of exploring, and so we kind of talked about this, the Celestrix monster set.
Yeah.
That's one that I'm actually looking at, and that I think I'm going to end up going with that. Just kind of a reminder of that one. It's the two-piece for it is when you deal damage, you create an earthquake under the enemy that erupts after 1.5 seconds, dealing 6,836 physical damage to all enemies within 4 meters and stunning them for 3 seconds. This effect can occur every 6 seconds. Um, so, stamina outside for a stamina build, if you're going to go with a monster set right now, it's kind of Baylorg is kind of what I imagine most stamina build. If they're using a monster set, it's kind of Baylorg or nothing.
Or it's
um
that now there's that one that with the little Dwemer automaton that
oh
follows you
yes,
around. Freaking
yep,
everyone's using that thing.
yep, that's a good point. That one is
Yeah.
very common as well. But I'm really excited. I've been key farming to get a shoulder for this, and I've had terrible luck. But still continuing to key farm to get the setup for this. And I actually need 2 heavy pieces, which is a little unique, so it's taken a little bit longer than what I like, but it's okay. It's fun to farm, and I think it's going to work really well because the one thing, with any bow build, you're kind of a little bit lacking on damage. So to actually have a proc set that kind of helps with damage is going to be really helpful for that build. And then the other really big part about it is that I don't have a whole lot of stun capability on that build. On the back bar, I do a one hand and a shield, and so I have the shield charge ability that stuns them.
Yeah.
But it's going to be really nice to have an additional stun. So it's pretty good damage. Pretty easy to proc. It's gonna, you have to wait that 1.5 seconds, and it's only 4 meters. But so I think people will dodge it, but I think for the most part, if I'm in the thick of things, it's just one more thing for a player to think about, for
Yeah,
them to have
just
to
a little
worry
extra
about.
pressure. And I
Yep.
think it was buffed recently. Like I think it used to have a proc chance, and now it's a guaranteed proc or something like that.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. It's just whenever you deal damage now. So when you deal damage, so it's pretty easy to keep that up. So yeah, I'm excited to get that set up. I think that's gonna kind of I'll do some testing, but I think that's gonna finally finish my Stam Warden to where I feel really good about him.
Cool.
And then my Stamina Templar is just I feel really good about that build. It's not near complete. I did do some testing with you against your just terrifying stamcro, and it did not go well. But I'm hoping that's just due to the fact that I have a lot of work to do to get that build ready, and hopefully it won't be that won't be the results going forward.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's a good build. I think you have a good build going there for sure.
yeah, it's real speedy and yeah. I mean, I'll talk once it gets a little bit more done. I'll probably go into it a little bit more detail, but. And I've talked in the past about the detail on it, but I think it's going to really, really be really good. It focuses on speed and it has really good weapon damage, which are just great things, good sustain things like that.
Yeah.
The other thing, and I haven't even really gone into this, like I haven't even pieced it in the build editor yet, but I've started thinking about my vampire a little bit more. Um,
Oh, okay. Already returning to the vampire.
I, I
Okay.
wouldn't I
I was
wouldn't say I'm
expecting it to take
returning.
longer.
I know. I wouldn't say I'm returning. I just have been piecing this idea together of just really kind of looking at a focus of how to make it just kind of full on glass cannon. Because I don't think there's a way to make it. That's you just can't do the tanky vampire with how much damage it's dealing to itself. And
Yeah.
so it's just going to have to be all out damage. And so just kind of looking around at some things and different possibilities on how to bring more damage and not so much focus on. Usually I play tanky Nord, a little bit tanky, slower builds, and so Thracian Stranglers is an idea that I've had for this build. Um,
Yeah, I've thought about that.
Maybe pairing that with it to take more damage, but but deal more damage as well. That's kind of the theme. It's a little scary to go all in on that theme because a big part of that theme is that you take more damage, but maybe there's a way that I can get something where he can at least take people out before he's taken out. But yeah, so that was kind of as far as theory crafting. That's kind of where my mind's been at this week. And then with the mid-year mayhem going on, I've played a lot more Cyrodiil than I usually do. A little less Imperial City, just because Imperial City is like just
It's
it's
a
fun,
madhouse
but
right
it's
now.
just total madhouse. Like you better join up with the Zerg as they're running through, or you're not going to survive.
It's weird that we're running to Cyrodiil as a reprieve from Imperial City. Like
It's the world's all turned around right now.
but it is cool. Like we were talking about last week, though. It's crazy. The performance is actually pretty good, and we can go into Cyrodiil and have a good time. And our skills work most of the time, even with like a huge population. Like Cyrodiil's been really fun this week.
Yeah, it really has. It's been a lot of fun. As everyone knows, we always play EP, and for years we always have kind of a certain area in Cyrodiil where we always pick fights, and we kind of went back to that old spot. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun hanging out in there. And kind of as you mentioned, there's with the mid-year mayhem, especially in Cyrodiil. It's this way a little bit in Imperial City, but I really felt this, and in Cyrodiil, there's a lot of players that clearly have not experienced a whole lot in PvP,
Sure.
and they're just kind of in there. And so, by no means am I as good as what some of my results have been
Oh yeah, you can
with
you can
some of the
really get a big head
players.
pretty easily during this
Yeah,
event. Yeah.
it's been pretty funny because it's you'll mow through several people and then you'll run into one of these really good, very experienced Cyrodiil players, or maybe like something
It's just like
similar
hitting a
to.
brick wall all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's like, oh wait, what just
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah, like you're just
uh,
cruising along, like you just like mowed through like 20 little baby lambs, like, oh man, I'm a freaking PvP god. And then you actually come up on someone who's probably not even actually amazing. They're just kind of good, but
Yeah.
you've just gotten spoiled to all these
Exactly.
these noobs.
Exactly. You're like, oh, what? They didn't die with one of my combos.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
But it actually has been a lot of fun. There's been some good Cyrodiil fights, and Cyrodiil with this, with the amount of people in it, with this good a performance, it really is kind of shining about how just really cool of a game mode that the game mode is.
Yeah. It's awesome that people can actually like enjoy Cyrodiil right now and get the actual experience, and it's awesome. I hope that the experience sticks around after this event
I do
is
too.
over.
I got double crossed fingers hoping that it stays this way.
I'm pumped. I've been doing that transmute grind in Cyrodiil this whole week. I have probably 700 or so geodes coming my way when this campaign
on
ends,
their way to you soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are great to have. Yeah, and then really the last thing that I wanted to make sure, last week we talked about mythic items and our favorite mythic items, and I feel guilty. I forgot about my own favorite mythic item. I voted the Ring of the Wild Hunt being the best. I have to correct myself. My favorite mythic item is actually the Torque of Tonal Constancy. That's my number one. I do love that one. That's the one that made my Stamsork build shine. I had to correct that. I felt guilty that I forgot about the Torque.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think of that one either. That's one that I feel like I often forget about that one, and I shouldn't, because it's really, really good. And I haven't actually gotten a hold of that one yet, but I need to get it because it just seems so cool.
It's fantastic. It's
so versatile. You could put that on so many different builds.
Yeah, there's a chance that I'll find a way to put that on additional builds, which me and you always talk about. We don't like doubling up on sets or items for multiple builds. We usually try to avoid that as much as possible just for creative purposes, but that might be one that I might have to just tinker with to see.
I think if I use it, I think if I were to get that, I think the first character I would try to use it on would be a Stan Blade.
Yeah,
which you're probably happy to hear that because you like my Stan Blade, but I never play with him.
Your Stan Blade, hey, that's your original character.
My very first character. Yeah.
He's been riding the bench for a while now.
He has been, poor guy. But I think that Torque of Tonal Constancy could be really, really good for a stealthy Stan Blade going in and out of cloak and stuff. It could be awesome.
Yeah, it could be really cool. I've been curious about how it would fit on a mag DK.
Oh, okay. I could see that working pretty well, like especially if you're like a sword and shield on the back bar, you're doing a lot of blocking, so you're using that stamina bar a whole lot.
Yep. That's kind of my thoughts on it. Is you burn through your stamina real quick to get your magicka sustain up, but then obviously your regular magicka usage would get your stamina sustain up like quite a bit. So that's kind of what I've been tinkering out. I don't have a magicka DK. That's been a class that I've been contemplating building for a long time, but
yeah, I think you'd like it. They're cool.
I think there might be something there with the torque on that to help with the sustain levels. I think it could be really cool.
Nice, man.
But yeah, I think that is pretty much what I have been up to in the game this week.
Very cool. Well, the stuff that I've been doing, the character I've been spending the most time with this week is my Magicka Warden, who I named Aunt Lola. Which is just a totally random name that I just came up with on the character creation screen. So this is a character I've been sort of adjusting, trying to get it updated for this current patch. I made a build video for this character a few patches ago, but there's been some new sets and some new stuff added to the game, so I'm just kind of getting her updated. And it's really cool. This is an awesome character. She's a Breton, so she was in the Daggerfall Covenant. I finally got one of these Alliance Change tokens, and she's in the correct Alliance now. She's in the Ebonheart Pact, so that's good.
Everything is good now. She's on EP. We're good to go.
Yeah, and it's awesome because I've been wanting to do this for a while because we've been doing so much Imperial City these days. And this is a particular character that I think would be especially fantastic in Imperial City. But I haven't been playing with her because it just doesn't feel right if I'm running around on a DC character, like what if I run into you or someone else that I know on EP? It would be weird. So she's just been I just been doing battlegrounds only with that character pretty much. But now I actually ran around in Imperial City with her last night. She's just as amazing as I expected her to be. Just this is such an awesome character, such an awesome build. So what she's been using, the sets are Hades Hearth, Spell Power Cure, and of course Mighty Chudan, which turns out is probably my favorite monster set.
It's your favorite one. Just to,
It must
just
be
have to
because I
put it
use it
out
a
there.
lot. Which I hardly use monster sets at all these days, but when I do, it turns out it's often Mighty Chudan. Um, I tried, she has been using Spell Power Cure for quite a while. I tried replacing Spell Power Cure with Winter's Respite just because it seems so perfect for a Mag Warden like support build, which is what she is. Plus, pairing it up with Hades Hearth, it's like these two healing circles. It just seemed like thematically a perfect fit. So I put that on there, and I mean, it is a lot of healing, but I found like in battlegrounds, especially the Winter's Respite proc, I was rarely able to get my team to stand in it for any real length of time. Whereas with Hades Hearth, it follows me around, so I can make sure that people are always in that. So I didn't really like that. Plus, just losing out on the damage that Spell Power Cure gives me. Plus, Spell Power Cure gives my allies damage as well. So it just seemed to be a better fit, Spell Power Cure, because I don't have to make sure people are standing in that. It just sticks to whoever it procs on, and that's it. So I think the setup I've been using, I'm going to stick with Hades Hearth, Spell Power Cure, Mighty Chudan, and then I'm going to fiddle around with like some traits and different things like that, and kind of get the stats just right, like dialed in just right. But I think she's basically finished. Like I was playing with her last night, and just very, very pleased with how she's doing.
I am doubly excited for you that now this character is on EP. I agree with you. This is like the perfect character to run Imperial City with. This character does nothing but just buff the entire team, heal the team, buffs. It is we've joked that this is the opposite end of the spectrum of despair. Your your magic and necro character, where
Yeah,
it's like buffing the team by taking away from the enemies and healing. This one is just all the buffs on your team and the healing. We've
yeah.
also joked about how cool it'd be to have both those characters running in the party at the same time.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
that'd be so cool. Yeah.
we need somebody to build one of these builds to run with us. That would be
Well,
so much fun.
I think Icy did make a version of Despair for himself.
It's gonna
So
happen.
yeah, we
We're gonna
could.
have Lola and Despair, and just have an invincible little elite unit running in
Yeah,
Imperial City.
yeah. Well, what I like about Mag Warden in general, and this character, I really tried to lean into it, is just how incredibly versatile they are, and they really are a Swiss Army knife, and they have the ability to just have whatever tool is needed in the moment all the time. So she's not strictly a healer the way my Necro is. I mean, she has when she wants to be. She absolutely is a incredibly powerful healer, but she also has pretty good offensive capability as well. And she's hard as nails to kill as too. And even though it's a light armor build, she doesn't even have very high resistance. But just the Warden's toolkit in general, just it makes them hard to kill if you know how to use it right. And I'm basically immune to sorcerers. That's my favorite part about Mag Warden is like I can just stand and laugh in a sorcerer's face, basically, like not even holding the block button, and like they can't even scratch me because you have the shimmering shield that just basically invalidates their crystal frags. You have the Betty Netch that automatically cleanses off the curse or their mage's wrath. So you're just taking hardly any damage from them at all, and it doesn't even cost much magicka. You literally can just stand there endlessly. Like most mag sorts that I face off against 1v1, they just end up streaking away because it's no use.
They're just
Yeah.
nope out.
Yeah.
That shimmering shield is a fantastic ability.
Oh yeah, one of the best abilities in the game. OP, honestly, like just
Yeah.
permanent major heroism basically during combat. It's a very very strong. Like you cannot spec into ultimate regeneration whatsoever. Just have that one ability, and like your ultimate is always up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really excited about this character. So excited that she's on the Ebonheart pact. You'll probably see me playing with her a lot more going forward, just because it's just that's the character when I'm like looking at the character select screen. I don't know who I want to play with. Do I want to play with a character that does a lot of damage? Do I want to play with a support character? There's a lot of things to consider. If I'm indecisive, this is the one I go to, because it's like, well, no matter how I'm feeling, this character is going to be able to do whatever I need it to do.
This character is your D, all of the above.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Mag Warden, man. If you do PvP, if you're listening out there, you do some PvP and you don't have yourself a Mag Warden, strongly recommend making yourself one and giving it a shot. They're so good. I've been playing a little more with my Stamina Necromancer as well. I've been talking about this guy on the past few episodes. Not much has changed. It's just I've been playing with him. I dropped the ball last month and I didn't do any Cyrodiil whatsoever, so I have 0 Transmute Geodes. And so that's all he's waiting on. He has all the gear and I've done all the testing. I'm pretty sure the build is locked in and I know exactly what it's going to be. I just have to do all the transmuting and gold it all out and all that stuff. But it's going to be a really, really good build. And just a reminder, if anyone didn't catch it in previous episodes, he's a Wood Elf, Stamina Necromancer, uses a bow on the main front bar, and then a two-handed greatsword on the back bar just for buffs and stuff. The bow is the Black Rose Prison Bow, and then he's using the Poisonous Serpent set with the Snow Treaders, 3 pieces agility, and 1 piece Bloodspawn. So the Snow Treaders, when you're in combat, you can't sprint, but you also can't be snared, or you can't be snared or immobilized. So he's a Wood Elf, and he has a bow. So every time he does a roll dodge, he's getting 40% extra movement speed. And the plan is to give him 2 pieces of Swift jewelry as well. So that's going to be another like 12% if they're gold. So he's actually going to be moving as fast as someone who is sprinting, but he's not going to be sprinting, and he's immune to soft CC. So that's going to be cool. And then all the poison dots I didn't mention before. An important aspect of the bow, it's the Black Rose Prison Bow, so it applies a poison dot when you hit him with a magnum shot. It's a very strong dot, but it's also infused with a poison glyph, and typically a poison glyph is going to fire on an infused weapon. It's going to fire about every other light attack if you're light attack weaving, and it hits for like 3,000 or 4,000. It's a pretty strong proc on an infused weapon, and it's basically like doubling that Poisonous Serpent set. It's about an equivalent amount of damage. I think that's something that a lot of builds maybe undervalue, is the value like of an infused damage glyph of some kind. I didn't realize this until recently, that they proc so often, and it amounts to a ton of damage. Anyway, really jazzed about this build. It's going to be really fun. He looks super cool, and I think it's just a neat idea for a build. It's frustrating because it could be like a month before I'm actually able to
get all the transmutes.
Yeah, get everything transmuted and actually like present it in a video or whatever. So I still log in with him like every day and just kind of run around in the overworld. And I've done some battlegrounds with him, but as soon as I am up against someone who actually does a good amount of damage, it's no good because my traits are all out of whack. So yeah, other than that, just like you, have been doing a lot of Cyrodiil this week because I don't want to make the same mistake. I want to get my transmutes this time. And we got the double AP, so it takes like 10 minutes to hit that tier 1. It's really easy. So I knocked those out really quick. And yeah, like we were saying, Cyrodiil's just been a blast this week, man. I really hope it continues to have this kind of performance after this event is over. I'm nervous about that.
Yeah. Let's hope let's hope that maintenance they're doing is part of the forever this type of performance.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Of course, that might be the opposite of that. It might be them taking down all the extra performance parts.
Yeah. I didn't write this down to talk about, but of course I have been playing with Betsy a lot as well, as always. It's funny. Last week we said that one of my goals was to not log in with Betsy this week. And then, so last night I logged on with Betsy, and which is my stamplar, by the way. And then Grizzly Khan, our old buddy, a friend of the show, was on, and he whispered me right away, and he says, You log off with Betsy right now, Mister.
you
uh,
you failed your goal. You
I was
failed
like, I can't. I need it.
it. You thought you could log on, nobody would be watching. I was out
Yeah.
of town. You thought you were safe.
Yeah, no one will know. Uh, caught me.
That's the shout out to
Um,
Grizzly this week. It's way to go, staying on top
yeah,
of you
holding
with
me
the Betsy
accountable.
login.
There it is. We found a way for the weekly Grizzly shout out. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. It's probably going to be kind of a short episode this week, just because Davis is out of town, and it's kind of been a busy week for me as well. But we still, of course, love the Elder Scrolls Online. I think next week's probably going to be a weird one too, because Davis is going to be out of town. But we're going to get back to business as usual right after that, and we'll have lots and lots of cool stories to tell.
For sure.
Exciting week. We actually have not really an email, but a comment to respond to. So in our last episode, we always put the episodes up on YouTube, so some people listen to it there. And so we got a comment on the last episode from Christian, and he asks, "What's better on a Stamplar, New Moon Acolyte, or Deadly Strikes, and why?" So I feel like I'm somewhat qualified to answer this question because
That's what I was about to say. I was like, this is right up your alley. You have been. We've just talked about how you are addicted to Stamplar right now.
I have a Stamina Templar addiction. Hello,
It
my name is
starts
Pet
off with
Sparrowhawk.
it starts off with saying.
So I think, as with so many questions like this, the answer is, of course, it depends. And I responded to Christian on the comment as well. So we've already talked about it, but figured to make a good conversation topic here. So both are great options, obviously, and I think it depends on your play style, how you like to play your Templar. So I like to play my Stamplar very, very fast and speedy. I basically have my sprint key like permanently taped down a lot of the time. So I don't like to use anything that negatively impacts my sustain for that reason. I chug stamina the way I play my Templar. So I don't want to use New Moon Acolyte for that reason, because I don't want that increase that cost increase. But one really, really good thing about New Moon Acolyte is, of course, you get all that weapon damage, which also increases your healing power by quite a lot. And that's one of the big selling points of New Moon Acolyte is like you cast Vigor, and if somebody's attacking you while that Vigor is going, there's no way you're going to die, because New Moon Acolyte has just buffed that Vigor so much. So I would say if you're going to be like a typical kind of stand your ground paladin kind of Templar, I would go with New Moon Acolyte. That's probably going to be the better choice, because your heals are going to be a lot stronger, and you can probably deal with that sustain, because your offense is probably going to rely a lot more on heavy attacks and stuff like that as well. But if you're going to be doing a more of a kitey kind of play style, and you like to rely on speed as defense and stuff like that, that's kind of what I like to do. I would not go with New Moon Acolyte. I think Deadly Strikes is the way to go there. It's a ton of damage. It doesn't hit your sustain at all. And another thing to consider about these two, depending on your exact build and what all's going on there, is Deadly Strikes makes a lot more sense as a single bar set. So you could have like Deadly Strikes on the front bar with a Master Bow on the back bar, which is what my Stamplar does. And you're not really losing anything when that Deadly Strikes falls off on the back bar. It's no big deal. Whereas with New Moon Acolyte, you wouldn't want that to be a single bar set. You wouldn't want to lose 450 weapon damage every time you flip to your back bar. So that would be probably something you would for sure want to have as a permanent 5-piece. Whereas Deadly Strikes, you have that flexibility to use it as a single bar only set. So there's that. That's all the emails and shoutouts. If you want to send us an email, you can write us at scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. That's scrollin with an I-N, no G, scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. You can also leave a comment if you're listening to this on YouTube. You can hit us up in-game. I'm at Cat Sparrowhawk. Davius is at Starjumper. Do we have any kind of last-minute things we want to say before we sign off?
Not that I can think of. Excited that we're going to be a bunch of Nords drinking. episode
Yeah.
21.
I have a feeling that the episode after next, we're not going to be able to shut up, right? Because it's like
Yeah.
we're kind of going to have like a 2 week
Yeah.
period here where we're not playing as much as we normally do, and then we're gonna like come back and like play for a week straight. Like, oh, this is
Yeah,
so much.
everyone's gonna have to prepare for that week. That episode after next is gonna be a long one, most likely.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, it's going to be a shorter one today, but it's quality, not quantity, right?
That's right.
So we're going to call it right there. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.